I just learned that my daughter's husband was teaching her to steal my house. I'm Charles Anderson, 67 years old, and I thought I'd seen everything in my 40 years as a nurse. But nothing prepared me for what I discovered that Tuesday evening. Not just their coaching session on how to manipulate me, but Nathan's backup plan to forge my signature and steal something worth $3.2 million. What Victoria and Nathan didn't know was that while they saw a broken widower living in the past, I'd been building an empire that would destroy their scheme and expose them to the entire world. I listened to every word through my home security system. Then I smiled, poured myself coffee in Margaret's favorite mug, the one that would soon become my secret weapon, and made a phone call that would end their lives as they knew them. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. This story proves that the quietest people often have the loudest impact. Let me tell you how my family learned that grief doesn't make you powerless. It makes you dangerous. The morning started with a phone call that should have been my first warning. Mr. Anderson, this is Jake from Foundation Security. We've detected unusual login attempts on your administrative account. Someone's been trying to access financial records. I was standing in my kitchen stirring coffee with Margaret's favorite spoon, looking at her collection of mugs arranged exactly as she'd left them 8 months ago. Any idea who might have your login information? Jake asked. I'll look into it, I said, though I already suspected. You have to understand how this looked from the outside. After Margaret died, I'd become exactly what Victoria and Nathan expected, a depressed old man clinging to memories in a house that screamed burden. I still drove my 2010 Honda Civic with the dented bumper. Still lived in our 1960s ranch house at 847 Maple Street, where Margaret's oxygen tank sat in the bedroom corner like a monument to suffering. Her coffee mug, a simple white ceramic cup with tiny blue flowers, occupied the place of honor on our kitchen counter, unwashed since her last sip. Victoria saw weakness everywhere she looked. "Dad, you're living in a shrine," she'd say during her Tuesday visits, always glancing at that mug. Mom wouldn't want this. But what she didn't notice were the other details: the official mail from medical boards, the business calls I took in my office, the tablet I used for games that was actually running FunTracker Pro, our foundation's management software. Even Mrs. Patterson next door had started asking questions. "Charles, honey, you get more mail than a government office," she'd said last week. "What kind of projects are you working on?" The postal worker, Eddie, was getting curious too. "Mr. Anderson, I've never seen anything like your mail volume. Board certifications, medical association letters, bank correspondence. You running some kind of business?" But Victoria and Nathan saw only what they wanted to see. Nathan would arrive with his leather portfolio, calculating eyes scanning my house like an appraiser. Victoria worked marketing at PharmaCorp, pulling in maybe $85,000 annually, but they'd stretched themselves thin on a $650,000 townhouse with a crushing mortgage. The first real sign they thought I was losing it came during Easter dinner. I'd answered a call from Dr. Rodriguez about Margaret's legacy projects. After I hung up, Nathan and Victoria exchanged that look, the one that screams, "Senile old man making up stories." "Dad," Victoria said gently, "you retired 3 years ago. You don't have colleagues anymore." I nodded and passed the potatoes, watching them miss the significance of everything around them. The second sign was their reaction to my technology use. I'd be sitting with my tablet, managing our foundation's donor database, tracking patient outcomes, coordinating with 6 facilities across the state. To them, I was just playing games or confused by computers. "Look how he stares at that screen," Nathan would whisper to Victoria. Classic signs of cognitive decline. Probably looking at random websites, thinking he's doing something important. They started leaving assisted living brochures on my coffee table. Sunset Manor, Golden Years Community, marketing materials promising professional care and financial peace of mind. "Dad, these places have medical staff on site," Victoria would say. "And think about the savings. No more property taxes eating you alive." Nathan would pull out his calculator. $850 a month in property taxes alone, over $10,000 annually just sitting here. But here's what they missed. That simple tablet was monitoring real-time financial data from a $3.2 million operation. Those confusing phone calls were coordinating care for families in crisis. That clutter of official mail was correspondence from state medical boards, federal compliance officers, and legal counsel. Most importantly, they never noticed that Margaret's coffee mug was always positioned where I could see it during important conversations. Because Margaret wasn't just a memory. She was still my business partner. Everything changed the day I decided to check our home security system. I'd installed the cameras 6 months ago, officially for peace of mind after Margaret's death. Victoria and Nathan thought it was paranoia. What they didn't know was that the system included audio recording in common areas. Tuesday afternoon, I was reviewing footage from the previous evening when I heard voices from the kitchen. Victoria and Nathan sitting at my dining table like they owned the place. I should have confronted them immediately. Instead, something in Nathan's tone made me freeze and listen. "We need to move faster," Nathan was saying. "I've been monitoring his tablet usage. He's on some kind of financial management app constantly. If he's hiding assets, we need to find them before he makes any major decisions." My blood ran cold. They'd been watching me, studying me. "But what if he refuses to sign?" Victoria asked. "That's why we have the backup plan. I've already created digital copies of his signature from those birthday cards he sends. With the right software, I can forge documents if necessary." I gripped the tablet so hard I thought it might crack. Nathan continued. "The beauty is, once we prove he's financially incompetent, any signatures he makes become legally questionable anyway. We establish the house sale, then handle whatever other assets he's hiding." "Other assets?" Victoria sounded surprised. "Victoria, your father gets more official mail than most businesses. He's either running something we don't know about, or he's so confused he's signing up for scams. Either way, we need control." I checked the timestamp. This conversation happened while I was at the grocery store, buying ingredients for the dinner I'd cooked them that same night. "What about his tablet activities?" Victoria asked. Nathan laughed. "I looked over his shoulder last week. He's playing around with some app called Fund Tracker. Probably thinks he's managing investments, but it's likely just a game or demo software. Classic signs of digital dementia. Fund Tracker Pro, the software that managed our foundation's $3.2 million portfolio across 6 facilities. The game that coordinated care for over 200 families. The timeline is critical," Nathan said. "I talked to a lawyer friend. If we can document 6 months of concerning behavior, we can petition for financial guardianship. The house sale becomes automatic." 6 months. They'd been planning this since February, right after Margaret's funeral. "But what if he finds out?" Victoria worried. "How would he? The man can barely figure out his tablet. And even if he suspected something, who would believe him? A grieving widower making paranoid accusations against his loving family?" I saved the audio file to our foundation's secure server. Then I made copies. Because Nathan was about to learn that digital dementia patients don't usually maintain enterprise-level cybersecurity. But it got worse. "There's something else," Nathan said. "I accessed his email yesterday while he was in the bathroom." My heart stopped. "He's been corresponding with medical organizations. Something about a foundation. Could be a scam targeting elderly people, or he might actually be involved in something legitimate that we can control." "What kind of foundation?" I couldn't tell. The emails are encrypted and he logs out of everything. But if he's controlling any kind of assets through this foundation, we need to know. Should we ask him directly? Absolutely not. We stick to the plan. Establish incompetence, get guardianship, then investigate everything he's hiding. I sat in my office, listening to my daughter and her husband plan to steal not just my house, but potentially everything Margaret and I had built together. The stakes weren't just personal anymore. They were talking about seizing control of a foundation that served dying patients and desperate families, about turning Margaret's legacy into their personal ATM. But Nathan had made one critical error. He assumed the confused old man wouldn't be smart enough to record his confession. Time to prove him wrong. I walked through the front door 30 minutes after their conversation ended, carrying grocery bags and Margaret's coffee mug. "Hey there," I called out. "Didn't expect to see you two tonight." Victoria practically jumped. Nathan smoothly closed his laptop, but I could see Fund Tracker Pro's login screen for a split second before it disappeared. "Dad, we were just visiting." I set the groceries down and filled Margaret's mug with fresh coffee. Took a long, deliberate sip. "That's nice. What were you talking about?" "Just family stuff," Nathan said. "Nothing important." I nodded, opening a can of soup. "Nothing important, I see." The silence stretched until Victoria couldn't stand it. "Dad, we've been worried about you." "Worried how? You seem overwhelmed by technology, by finances." I stirred my soup slowly. "Overwhelmed by what specifically?" Nathan leaned forward. "Charles, that app you're always using, Fund Tracker. Are you sure it's legitimate? Why wouldn't it be? Well, there are a lot of scams targeting seniors. Fake investment platforms. I sat down across from them, Margaret's mug positioned where I could see it. Nathan, show me what you mean. What? Pull up Fund Tracker. Show me these scam indicators. His face went pale. I don't have access to your accounts. But you said you'd looked at it. How did you evaluate it without accessing it? From what I could see over your shoulder. What did you see over my shoulder? Nathan glanced at Victoria. Numbers, charts, it looked confusing. Confusing how? Too complex for typical user interfaces. Too complex for who, Nathan? The question hung in the air. Victoria tried to help. Dad, Nathan just meant that some of these financial apps can be misleading. Which apps? Well, apps that make people think they're managing more money than they actually have. How much money do you think I have, Victoria? She shifted uncomfortably. We don't know your exact financial situation. But you have theories? Nathan jumped in. Charles, we're concerned about your decision-making capacity. Based on what evidence? Your behavior, your isolation, your attachment to this house. What about my attachment concerns you? It's preventing you from making practical choices, such as downsizing, moving somewhere with support. I took another sip from Margaret's mug. Nathan, can I show you something? I walked to my office and returned with my tablet, opened to Fund Tracker Pro's main dashboard, set it on the table where they could see the screen. Tell me what you see. Nathan stared at numbers he clearly didn't understand. I see. Financial data. What kind of financial data? Charts, account balances, transaction histories. Read me the current portfolio value. He squinted at the screen. 3.2. Million? Million what? Dollars? His voice cracked. And these transaction histories? Nathan scrolled down, his confidence evaporating. Payroll entries, facility maintenance, medical equipment purchases. How many facilities, Nathan? 6? 6 facilities. Victoria grabbed the tablet. Dad, what is this? It's the Margaret Anderson Memorial Foundation's management system. What foundation? The Hospice Care Foundation your mother and I started 8 years ago. Nathan's portfolio slipped from his hands. That's impossible. Which part? You're a retired nurse. You don't run foundations. Actually, I'm the founding director of the largest private hospice network in the state. Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. 8 years. We opened the first facility in 2016, 6 months after Margaret's diagnosis. Nathan was still staring at the screen. This shows employee payroll for 63 people. Nurses, administrators, maintenance staff, security. We employ more people than your entire firm. Nathan grabbed one of the financial statements from his scattered portfolio. Charles, if this is real, if you actually control these assets. Yes? Then you've been lying to us for months. About what? About being confused, about needing help, about being financially vulnerable. I stood up and collected Margaret's mug. Nathan, I never said I was confused. You assumed I was confused. But you acted like it. I acted like a man grieving his wife. You interpreted grief as incompetence. Victoria started crying. Dad, why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? About the foundation, about the money, about everything. I paused at the kitchen sink. Victoria, when did you ask? But we weren't done yet, because Nathan had just realized that if I wasn't confused, then I might have heard their coaching session. Charles, Nathan said slowly, how long have you known about our conversations? I dried Margaret's mug and set it back in its place of honor. Every word, Nathan, every single word. The next morning brought the call I'd been expecting. Mr. Anderson, this is Sarah Chen from State Medical Board Oversight. We need to schedule your annual foundation compliance review. I was making coffee, 2 cups out of habit, though only 1 would be used. Margaret's mug sat in its usual spot, catching the morning light. Of course. When works for your schedule? How about Friday morning? Governor Martinez will be conducting the review personally this year. Victoria, who'd stayed the night on my couch, looked up sharply from her breakfast. Governor Martinez? Any particular reason? The Foundation's expansion proposal caught her attention. 6 facilities serving over 200 families annually. She wants to discuss potential state partnership opportunities. After I hung up, Victoria stared at me. Dad, the governor is coming here? To our house? To review foundation operations, yes. But why here and not at your facilities? I smiled. Because this house is becoming our new administrative headquarters. Her face went white. What? I've been planning to donate the house to the foundation, convert it to family lodging and administrative offices. You're giving away our family home? I'm transforming it into something that serves families in crisis. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Rodriguez. Charles, Channel 7 wants to do a feature story on the foundation. Are you available for an interview? Victoria read over my shoulder. Channel 7? Dad? What's going on? Apparently our work is getting attention. Another text, this one from Eddie the postal worker. Mr. Anderson, I hope it's okay, but I mentioned to my wife about all the medical mail you get. She works at the state health department. She says your foundation has an incredible reputation. I showed Victoria the message. Even Eddie's been curious about the mail volume. Dad, how many people know about this foundation? Everyone in the healthcare community. We're not exactly secret. My tablet chimed with a fund tracker notification. New donor contribution. $50,000 from Regional Medical Center's Memorial Fund. Victoria watched me process the donation. Dad, people are giving you $50,000? The foundation, Victoria, and yes, regularly. Mrs. Patterson knocked on the door, holding a newspaper. Charles, honey, you need to see this. She handed me the State Medical Journal, opened to page 3. Local foundation revolutionizes end-of-life care. There was my photo, taken at last month's board meeting, standing next to Dr. Moore in front of our Springfield facility. Victoria read the headline aloud. Charles Anderson, former RN, builds hospice empire through innovation and compassion. Mrs. Patterson beamed. Charles, I had no idea. The article says you've saved families over $1 million in healthcare costs. Victoria grabbed the paper. Dad, this article makes you sound like what? Like someone important, like someone who knows what they're doing. I sat down across from her, positioning Margaret's mug where I could see it. Victoria, what did you think I'd been doing for 8 months, sitting here crying? Well, yes. I have been crying, every morning when I drink coffee from this mug, every night when I go to bed alone, but grief doesn't stop competence. My phone rang again. Governor Martinez's office, confirming Friday's visit. This is really happening, Victoria whispered. It's been happening for 8 years, sweetheart. You just weren't paying attention. The article mentioned that I'd started the foundation with $20,000 from Margaret's first insurance payout, plus medical equipment donations from 40 years of nursing colleagues who believed in our vision. Dad, Victoria said quietly, I feel sick. We've been treating you like a confused old man who couldn't handle his own affairs? She nodded. Victoria, you saw what you expected to see, a widower struggling with loss. You weren't entirely wrong. I am struggling, every day. I picked up Margaret's mug. But struggle doesn't equal incompetence, and grief doesn't equal helplessness. But Friday would bring more than a compliance review, because Nathan was about to learn what happens when you threaten a foundation that serves dying families, and the whole world was about to watch him learn it. Friday morning, I was setting Margaret's mug on my desk when Nathan arrived 2 hours early. Charles, we need to talk before this governor meeting. What about? Damage control. This foundation situation. It's complicated. He was carrying a thick folder and wearing his most professional suit. I've prepared some financial projections, ways to optimize your foundation's structure. Optimize how? Better investment strategies, tax advantages, professional management oversight. I poured coffee into Margaret's mug. You want to manage the foundation? I want to help family. Clearly you've built something impressive, but with the right guidance. Nathan, what makes you think the foundation needs guidance? Charles, no offense, but you're not a financial professional. There are opportunities you're missing. Before I could respond, cars started pulling into my driveway. Governor Martinez's security detail, followed by Dr. Moore's sedan, then a Channel 7 news van. Nathan's face went white. News cameras? The governor asked to make this a public event. Highlight successful public-private partnerships in healthcare. Dr. Moore knocked on the door, followed by Governor Martinez and 3 news crews. Charles, Dr. Moore embraced me. Ready for your close-up? Governor Martinez shook my hand warmly. Mr. Anderson, thank you for hosting this review. Your foundation's work has been extraordinary. Nathan stood frozen in the corner as cameras began rolling. Governor Martinez, the Channel 7 reporter began, can you tell us why the Margaret Anderson Memorial Foundation deserves state recognition? This foundation has revolutionized end-of-life care in our state. They've served over 200 families, saved taxpayers over $1.2 million in healthcare costs, and maintained a 97% patient satisfaction rating. The reporter turned to me. Mr. Anderson, you started this foundation while caring for your dying wife. How did you manage both? I picked up Margaret's mug, holding it where the cameras could see. My wife, Margaret, believed that love should multiply, not divide. Even while she was dying, she insisted we move forward with plans to help other families. Nathan tried to edge toward the door, but Dr. Moore blocked his path. Charles, would you mind showing the governor our latest expansion plans? I led everyone to the dining room, where I'd spread out architectural drawings for converting the house into administrative headquarters. This family home will become lodging for families who can't afford hotels during their loved ones' final weeks, I explained. Governor Martinez examined the plans. Mr. Anderson, this represents a significant personal sacrifice. Governor, this house without Margaret is just a building. This house serving families in crisis becomes a legacy. Nathan finally found his voice. Charles, before you make any major decisions, shouldn't you consult with family? Financial advisors? The room went quiet. Every camera swiveled to Nathan. I'm sorry, Governor Martinez said. And you are? Nathan Williams, Charles's son-in-law. I'm a financial advisor. Ah, have you been involved in the Foundation's financial management? Nathan's confidence returned. Actually, I've been concerned about some aspects of Charles's financial decision-making. Dr. Moore frowned. What kind of concerns? Well, for instance, Charles has been showing signs of confusion about technology, difficulty with basic computer applications. I set Margaret's mug down and pulled out my tablet. Nathan, could you show these people what you mean? What? You said I'm confused about technology. Demonstrate for the cameras. Nathan hesitated. I don't think this is the appropriate venue. Governor Martinez, would you like to see our Foundation's management system? I opened FundTracker Pro to the main dashboard. Real-time data from 6 facilities, current patient census, financial summaries. The governor studied the screen. Mr. Anderson, this is sophisticated software. Nathan, you're the financial expert. Walk everyone through what you see. Nathan stared at the tablet like it might explode. This appears to be financial management software. For how much money, Nathan? His voice was barely audible. $3.2 million. The news cameras captured every word. Governor Martinez looked impressed. Mr. Anderson, you personally manage a $3.2 million operation? With help from my board of directors and amazing staff, yes. Nathan, Dr. Moore said, you seemed concerned about Charles's competence. Does this look like the work of someone with cognitive issues? Nathan's folder slipped from his hands, scattering his optimization plans across the floor. The Channel 7 reporter moved closer with her microphone. Mr. Williams, what specifically led you to question Mr. Anderson's financial competence? This is really not... I'd rather not. Nathan, I said quietly, tell them about your concerns. About the coaching sessions. His face went ashen. Charles, please. Tell them about monitoring my tablet usage, about accessing my email, about your backup plan with my signature. Governor Martinez stepped forward. Mr. Williams, what is Mr. Anderson referring to? Nathan looked around the room, cameras rolling, state officials watching, his reputation disintegrating in real time. I walked to my office and returned with a laptop. Would you like to hear the misunderstandings? Charles, don't. I clicked play on the audio file from Tuesday's coaching session. Nathan's voice filled the room. We established the house sale, then handle whatever other assets he's hiding. If we can document 6 months of concerning behavior, we can petition for financial guardianship. The man can barely figure out his tablet. Who would believe him? A grieving widower making paranoid accusations against his loving family? When the audio ended, Governor Martinez looked at Nathan with disgust. Mr. Williams, are you saying you were planning to petition for guardianship of a man who runs a $3.2 million foundation? Nathan couldn't speak. The Channel 7 reporter was practically vibrating with excitement. Mr. Anderson, will you be pressing charges? I picked up Margaret's mug and took a long sip. That depends on Nathan. All eyes turned to him. Nathan, would you like to apologize to my late wife's memory, to the families our foundation serves, and to the state officials you just lied to on camera? Nathan looked around the room one more time. At the cameras, at the governor, at the evidence of everything he'd gotten wrong. Then he ran, literally ran out of my house, leaving his folder scattered across the floor. The cameras followed him all the way to his car. Within 6 hours, Nathan's career was over. The Channel 7 interview aired at noon. By 12:30, the audio recording was trending on social media. By 1 p.m., Nathan's firm had received 47 phone calls from angry clients. By 2 p.m., he was fired. I was sitting in my kitchen with Margaret's mug, watching the coverage on my tablet, when Victoria called crying. "Dad, Nathan's lost his job. The video is everywhere. People are calling him a predator." "What video?" "Someone at the news station put together a compilation. The audio of Nathan's coaching session, then footage of him running away when you confronted him. It's been shared 50,000 times. She was sobbing. "Dad, I'm so sorry. We never meant for this to happen." "Victoria, come over. We need to talk." She arrived 20 minutes later, looking like she hadn't slept in days. "Dad, Nathan's getting death threats. People are saying he preys on elderly family members." I poured her coffee in one of the regular mugs, keeping Margaret's for myself. "Victoria, what did you think would happen when you planned to steal from a foundation that serves dying families?" "We didn't know it was real. We thought you were confused, maybe being scammed. But you never asked me directly. We were afraid you'd get defensive. So instead, you planned to forge my signature and petition for guardianship." She flinched. "That was Nathan's idea. And you went along with it. I thought we were protecting you." I sat down across from her, Margaret's mug positioned between us like a mediator. "Victoria, do you know what your mother would say about this situation? That we made a terrible mistake. She'd say that assumptions are the enemy of understanding." I pulled out my tablet and opened our foundation's website. The homepage featured a photo of Margaret in her hospital bed, smiling despite the oxygen cannula, holding the architectural plans for our first facility. This picture was taken 3 days before she died. She insisted on reviewing the construction timeline one more time. Victoria studied the image. "She looks proud." She was proud that her suffering would prevent other families from suffering unnecessarily. I scrolled to the testimonials page. Hundreds of comments from families we'd served. Victoria was crying again. "Dad, reading these, I feel sick about what we planned." "Why?" "Because we weren't just stealing from you. We were stealing from all these families. Now you understand." My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Moore. "Charles, the governor wants to fast-track state funding for your expansion. The publicity has been incredible." I showed Victoria the message. "Dad, what expansion?" "We're building facility number 7, a pediatric hospice. For children." Her face went white. "Children?" "Families whose kids are dying need specialized care." Another text, this one from Jake in Foundation Security. "Mr. Anderson, donations are pouring in after the news coverage. We've received $200,000 since this morning." Victoria read over my shoulder. "People are donating because of what Nathan did?" "People are donating because they learned what we do. Nathan's scheme backfired spectacularly." She was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course. When did you know Nathan was accessing your email?" I smiled. "The same day Jake called about unusual login attempts. Our security system logs every access attempt, including failed ones from unauthorized devices." "You've been monitoring Nathan's activities?" "I've been protecting the Foundation's assets, which it turns out was necessary." I opened another app on my tablet. This is our security dashboard. It shows every time someone tries to access Foundation accounts. The screen displayed a log of Nathan's activities, 17 unauthorized access attempts over 6 weeks. He tried to hack into our system? Repeatedly. Each attempt was logged, traced, and recorded. "Dad, that's a federal crime." "Yes, it is." Victoria stared at the evidence. "Are you going to press charges?" "That depends." "On what?" "On whether Nathan understands the magnitude of what he attempted." My phone rang. Channel 7 again. "Mr. Anderson, this is Rebecca Kim. We'd like to do a follow-up story. The public response has been overwhelming." "What kind of response?" "Donations to your foundation have increased 800% since this morning. Medical professionals are calling your work revolutionary. And 3 other states want to replicate your model." I put the call on speaker so Victoria could hear. "Additionally, we've received tips about other financial advisors who may have targeted elderly clients similarly. The FBI's white-collar crime division wants to speak with you about Nathan Williams' methods." Victoria's face went ashen. "Mr. Anderson, Would you be willing to participate in a broader investigation into elder financial abuse? I looked at Victoria, then at Margaret's mug. Let me think about it. After I hung up, Victoria was shaking. Dad? The FBI? Nathan didn't just target me, Victoria. His methods suggest a pattern. What kind of pattern? Professional financial advisors using family relationships to exploit elderly clients. She was quiet for several minutes, staring at Margaret's mug. Dad, what's going to happen to us? What do you want to happen? I want to fix this. I want to make it right. How? I don't know. Tell me how. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, contractors were delivering materials for Monday's renovation. Victoria, your mother and I always planned to expand the foundation into family counseling services. What kind of counseling? Help for families dealing with terminal diagnoses, grief counseling, financial planning for end-of-life expenses. Why are you telling me this? Because we need someone who understands both the emotional and practical challenges families face. You want me to work for the foundation? I want you to help build something that prevents other families from going through what we just went through. She looked up at me with hope and fear in equal measure. Dad, I don't deserve that chance. Victoria, your mother believed in second chances. She believed people could learn from their mistakes. I picked up Margaret's mug and held it where she could see it. She also believed that the best way to honor the dead is to serve the living. Victoria nodded slowly. What about Nathan? Nathan made his choice. Now he lives with the consequences. But we were married. We were partners in this. Were you partners or were you manipulated? She thought about that for a long moment. I think I was manipulated. Nathan knew exactly what to say to make me feel guilty about not caring for Mom better. And now I want to care for other families better. I sat back down and slid Margaret's mug toward the center of the table. Victoria, there's something else you need to understand about this foundation. What? It was never about the money. It was about creating a model that other communities could replicate. I pulled up another screen on my tablet. 3 states have already contacted us about licensing our operational framework. You're franchising the foundation? We're open sourcing it, making our methods, our software, our training protocols available to any community that wants to build similar facilities. Victoria's eyes widened. Dad, that could help thousands of families. Hundreds of thousands, eventually. Margaret's legacy could transform end-of-life care across the entire country, and Nathan almost destroyed all of that. Nathan almost stole all of that for his personal financial gain. But we weren't done yet, because the FBI investigation was about to reveal something much bigger than anyone expected. Monday morning brought the counterattack. I was overseeing renovation crews at the house when a black sedan pulled into my driveway. 2 men in expensive suits got out, followed by Nathan. Mr. Anderson, the older man called out. I'm David Steinberg, Mr. Williams' attorney. We need to discuss this situation. I set down Margaret's mug. What situation? The defamation campaign you've launched against my client. I'm not familiar with any campaign. Nathan stepped forward, looking like he'd aged 5 years since Friday. Charles, the media coverage has destroyed my reputation based on illegally recorded conversations. Nathan, you had those conversations in my house. My recordings. Steinberg pulled out a legal folder. Mr. Anderson, we're prepared to file a restraining order preventing further release of those recordings. On what grounds? Invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress. I looked at Nathan. Which statements were false? Charles, you edited those recordings to make me sound... Nathan, I played the complete unedited audio. Every word you said in the order you said it. Steinberg consulted his notes. Mr. Anderson, my client's reputation has been irreparably damaged by your vindictive actions. Vindictive. You deliberately entrapped Mr. Williams into making statements that could be taken out of context. I laughed. I entrapped Nathan into planning to forge my signature? That's not what happened. What did happen? Nathan's voice cracked. I was exploring options to help you manage your finances more effectively. By accessing my email without permission? I was concerned about your cognitive state. Based on what medical evaluation? Steinberg jumped in. Mr. Anderson, cognitive decline in elderly individuals often manifests as paranoid behavior and grandiose delusions. Such as? Believing you control a multi-million-dollar foundation. I smiled. Nathan, did you tell your lawyer that the foundation is fake? Charles, please. Because I have Governor Martinez on speed dial if your lawyer wants confirmation. Steinberg looked uncertain for the first time. Mr. Anderson, regardless of your business activities, you had no right to secretly record private conversations. In my own home? Between family members discussing your welfare. Nathan, show your lawyer the security system disclosure. What disclosure? The one you signed when I installed the cameras 6 months ago. The one that specifically mentions audio recording in common areas. Nathan's face went white. I never signed anything. I walked to my office and returned with a file folder. Nathan, this is your signature on the security system consent form dated February 15th. Steinberg examined the document. My client doesn't remember signing this. Nathan, read your signature line on this consent form. He read aloud. I understand that this security system includes audio recording in common areas and consent to such recording during my visits to this residence. Steinberg studied the form more carefully. This appears to be legally binding, because it is legally binding. I pulled out my tablet and opened Fund Tracker Pro. Gentlemen, would you like to see today's foundation activities? The screen showed real-time data, facility occupancy, staff schedules, financial transactions. This morning, we admitted 3 new patients across 2 facilities. Current monthly operating revenue is running 23% above budget due to donations triggered by Nathan's exposure. Steinberg stared at the numbers. Mr. Anderson, this shows substantial financial assets. $3.2 million and growing. And you personally control these assets? I'm the founding director of a state-certified medical foundation. Nathan found his voice. Charles, even if the foundation is real, you're still making emotional decisions. Such as? Donating your house, attacking your own family publicly. I set Margaret's mug on the table where they could see it. Nathan, reasonable financial advice from someone who attempted to forge my signature? I never actually forged anything. Because I stopped you before you could. Steinberg consulted his notes again. Mr. Anderson, my client admits to some poor judgment, but his intentions were ultimately protective. Protective of what? Your best interests. Nathan, explain to your lawyer how seizing control of a foundation that serves dying families protects my best interests. Nathan couldn't answer. Steinberg closed his folder. Mr. Williams, perhaps we should discuss a different approach. What kind of approach? Settlement. Mutual non-disclosure. Move forward without further legal action. I picked up Margaret's mug and took a sip. What are you offering? Mr. Williams agrees to cease all contact with you and your foundation in exchange for your agreement to stop cooperating with media coverage. And the FBI investigation? Nathan's face went ashen. What FBI investigation? Nathan, you attempted to defraud a federally regulated medical foundation. That's a federal crime. Steinberg looked surprised. Mr. Anderson, you didn't mention federal investigators. You didn't ask. Are charges pending? The investigation is ongoing. Nathan grabbed his lawyer's arm. David, we need to leave. Mr. Williams, if federal charges are pending, a settlement agreement won't protect you. Charles, Nathan pleaded, can't we work this out privately? Nathan, 7 elderly clients have filed complaints about your manipulation tactics. This isn't private anymore. What elderly clients? Ask your former employer. They're cooperating fully with federal investigators. Steinberg stood up abruptly. Mr. Anderson, this meeting is over. As they walked toward their car, Nathan turned back. Charles, I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry. Nathan, sorry doesn't restore 7 families' stolen assets. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did go this far, and now everyone knows it. They drove away, leaving me standing in my driveway with Margaret's mug and a crew of contractors who'd heard every word. Mr. Anderson, the foreman said, that guy really tried to steal from dying families? He tried to steal the foundation that serves dying families. What kind of person does that? I looked at Margaret's mug, thinking about her final words to me. Charles, promise me you'll protect what we built. The kind of person who sees other people's suffering as opportunity. Well, he picked the wrong target. I smiled. Yes, he did. Because Nathan had made one final miscalculation. He thought legal intimidation would make me back down. Instead, he'd just given me everything I needed to destroy him completely. The next 72 hours changed everything. Tuesday morning, Nathan's former firm released a public statement. We have terminated our relationship with Nathan Williams following discovery of unauthorized client account access and potential fraud. We are cooperating fully with federal investigators. By noon, Channel 7 had obtained Nathan's employment records. He'd been placed on probationary status 3 times in 2 years for aggressive sales tactics and boundary violations with elderly clients. Wednesday brought the civil lawsuits. 7 families Nathan had defrauded filed a class action suit seeking $2.3 million in damages. The lead plaintiff was Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, the 73-year-old woman whose house Nathan had bought through a shell company. "I thought Nathan was helping me," she told reporters. "He convinced me I couldn't afford my property taxes. Then he bought my house for $180,000 and sold it 6 months later for $340,000. Thursday morning I was drinking coffee from Margaret's mug when Victoria called. "Dad, have you seen the news?" "Which news?" "Nathan's been arrested." I set down the mug carefully. "For what?" "Federal charges. Wire fraud, elder financial abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud. The FBI raided our house at 6 a.m. Are you okay?" "Physically, yes. Emotionally? Dad, they seized his computers, his files, everything. The evidence goes back 3 years." Victoria, "Where are you now?" "Uncle Robert's house." "Dad, the FBI wants to interview me again. As a potential witness, not a suspect." "Good. They said Nathan's scheme was much bigger than we realized. He had a network of associates who targeted elderly clients across 4 states. I walked to the window. Outside, contractors were installing a brass plaque. "Margaret Anderson Family Care Center, where love multiplies through service." Victoria, "Are you prepared for what comes next?" "What do you mean?" "Nathan's going to prison. Your marriage is over. Your life is about to change completely." She was quiet for a long moment. "Dad, I've been thinking about what you said, about transforming guilt into purpose. And I want to testify, not just for the FBI, but publicly. I want other families to understand how manipulation works." "That's going to be difficult." "I know, but Dad, I spent 6 months believing Nathan's lies about you. If I can help even one family recognize those same lies, then Margaret's legacy grows stronger." "Exactly." Friday brought unexpected news. Governor Martinez called personally. "Charles, I have remarkable news. 3 other states want to license your foundation model. We're looking at federal funding for a national expansion." "National expansion?" 24 facilities across 8 states in the first phase. Your foundation would serve as the training and certification center. I gripped Margaret's mug tighter. "Governor, that's overwhelming." "Charles, what Nathan attempted to steal wasn't just your personal assets. He was trying to steal a healthcare innovation that could help thousands of families nationwide." After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen, soon to be the Foundation's family dining room, processing the magnitude of what Margaret's vision had become. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Moore. "Charles, the medical journal wants to publish a case study about the Foundation. You've revolutionized the field." Another text from Victoria. "Dad, Channel 7 wants to do a documentary about Nathan's fraud network. They want me to be the primary interview subject." Another from Robert. "Charles, the FBI found evidence that Nathan was planning to target other medical foundation directors. You stopping him prevented a much larger crime spree." I looked at Margaret's mug, sitting in the afternoon light streaming through the kitchen window. The same light that had illuminated her face during her final weeks, when she insisted we review foundation expansion plans despite her pain. "What do you think, Margaret?" I said aloud. "Ready for all this attention?" I walked outside to face the reporters. "Mr. Anderson," the Channel 7 correspondent called out, "Nathan Williams has been charged with defrauding elderly clients of over $2.3 million. How do you feel about these developments?" "I feel sad for the families he hurt, and grateful that his arrest prevents future victims." "Do you feel vindicated?" I thought about that question. "I feel responsible." "Responsible for what?" "For protecting what my wife and I built together. For making sure Nathan's crimes don't destroy the legacy she died to create." "Mr. Anderson, sources tell us you're expanding the foundation nationally. Is that correct?" "Margaret always said that good ideas belong to everyone. If our model can help families in other states avoid what we went through, then yes, we'll expand. What would you say to other elderly people who might be facing similar manipulation from family members?" I held up Margaret's mug where the cameras could see it. "I'd say that love doesn't require you to surrender your autonomy. Real family members support your decisions, they don't manipulate them." "And what about Nathan Williams? Nathan made choices that hurt vulnerable people. Now he's facing the consequences of those choices. Do you forgive him?" I looked at the mug again, remembering Margaret's final words about forgiveness. "I forgive the man who was confused about my capabilities. I don't forgive the criminal who tried to steal from dying families." Mr. Anderson, your foundation has received over $800,000 in donations since Nathan's scheme was exposed. What will you do with that money? Build facility number 7, a pediatric hospice, so families with dying children receive the same dignity we provide adults. The reporters asked more questions, but I was thinking about Margaret's vision board, still hanging in our bedroom. Photos of children's hospitals, pediatric care facilities, family support programs. Everything Nathan tried to steal was about to multiply beyond our wildest dreams. That evening, Victoria came for dinner in what would soon be the Foundation's family dining room. We ate takeout Chinese food surrounded by construction materials and architectural plans. Dad, I've made a decision. What's that? I'm filing for divorce and I'm changing my name back to Anderson. Are you sure? I want to rebuild my identity around something I can be proud of. Victoria, you can be proud of yourself right now. You chose to do the right thing when it mattered, only after almost doing the wrong thing. I picked up Margaret's mug and held it where she could see it. Victoria, your mother used to say that character isn't about never making mistakes. It's about what you do after you make them. What am I doing after I made them? You're helping prosecute a criminal. You're protecting other families. You're turning your worst moment into your greatest contribution. She smiled through tears. That sounds like something Mom would approve of. That sounds like something Mom would be proud of. Outside the dining room windows, the sun was setting over the garden where Margaret had planned to plant flowers she never got to see. Families would soon walk through that garden during the hardest moments of their lives, finding peace in a place built from love instead of greed. Nathan's scheme had failed spectacularly, but more than that, it had accidentally proven something Margaret always believed. Love really does multiply when you share it. 6 months later, I was drinking morning coffee from Margaret's mug in my new apartment at the Springfield facility when the phone rang. Dad, are you watching the news? Good morning, Victoria. Which news? Nathan's sentencing. It's live on Channel 7. I turned on the television. There was Nathan in an orange jumpsuit, standing before a federal judge. The defendant will serve 8 years in federal prison followed by 5 years supervised probation, the judge announced. Additionally, the court orders restitution of $2.7 million to victims of the defendant's fraud schemes. Victoria's voice came through the phone. Dad, it's over. The legal case is over. The real work is just beginning, she laughed. Dad, only you would call running a national foundation network the real work. Through my apartment window, I could see families arriving for morning visits at our newest facility. The Margaret Anderson Family Care Center, my former house, was fully operational, serving 23 families this week alone. Victoria, how's the family protection program coming along? We've trained counselors in 12 states so far. Last month alone, we prevented 4 families from falling for manipulation schemes similar to Nathan's. Your mother would be proud. Dad, I have something to tell you. What's that? The documentary about Nathan's fraud network won an Emmy last night. Really? Best documentary short subject. My interview was apparently compelling and educational. I smiled. Victoria's testimony in the documentary had become required viewing in elder care programs nationwide. What else? The Margaret Anderson model has been implemented in 43 facilities across 18 states. You've revolutionized end-of-life care in America. We've revolutionized it. You, me, Margaret's memory, and everyone who believed in the vision. Dad, there's something else. Go on. I'm getting married again. I nearly dropped the mug. To who? Dr. James Murphy. He's the pediatric oncologist who designed our children's hospice protocols. Victoria, that's wonderful. When? Next spring, in the garden at the Family Care Center, where Mom planned to plant flowers. She would love that. Dad, James asked me to ask you something. What? Would you perform the ceremony? Victoria, I'm not ordained. You can get ordained online. Dad, you've spent 8 years helping families through their worst moments. Who better to help us celebrate our best moment? I looked at Margaret's mug sitting in the morning light. The same mug that had witnessed Nathan's confession, survived the media firestorm, and now sat in a place of honor in my new life. I'd be honored. There's one more thing. What? We want to name our first child Margaret, if it's a girl. And if it's a boy, Charles, after the man who taught me that quiet strength is the loudest kind. After we hung up, I sat with Margaret's mug and thought about the journey from that terrible Tuesday when I overheard the coaching session to this peaceful morning in our thriving foundation network. Nathan was in prison. 7 elderly victims had been compensated. Dozens of families had been protected from similar schemes. Hundreds of dying patients had received dignified care, and thousands more would benefit from the national expansion. My phone buzzed with the daily Foundation report. 43 facilities, 847 current patients, 156 families and residents, 94% satisfaction rating. Another text from Governor Martinez. Charles, the President wants to meet with you about national healthcare reform. Your model could be the foundation for comprehensive end-of-life policy. A message from Dr. Moore. Charles, medical schools nationwide are adding the Margaret Anderson model to their curricula. You've changed how doctors think about dying. And one from Robert. Charles, the FBI used your case to expose elder fraud networks in 6 states. Your recording probably saved thousands of families from financial manipulation. I walked to my apartment's kitchen and refilled Margaret's mug. Outside my window, a young father was pushing his daughter on the wheelchair swing we'd installed in the garden. She was bald from chemotherapy, but laughing as she flew through the morning air. Margaret, I said aloud, remember when you worried that your suffering wouldn't matter? That your death wouldn't change anything? The mug sat silently on my counter, but I could feel her presence in every laugh from the garden, every grateful letter from families we'd served, every protection we'd built against predators like Nathan. Look what you built, sweetheart. Look what your love became. That evening, I attended the weekly Foundation board meeting in the conference room that used to be our living room. We reviewed the quarterly report. 2,847 families served since Margaret's death, $18.3 million in healthcare cost savings, 127 medical professionals trained in the Margaret Anderson model. Any new business? Dr. Moore asked. Victoria raised her hand. I'd like to propose a new program. What kind of program? Financial literacy training for elderly patients and their families, education about manipulation tactics, legal protections, warning signs, to prevent future Nathan Williams situations? Exactly. No family should have to go through what we went through. The board voted unanimously to approve Victoria's proposal. After the meeting, I stayed behind to clean up. Margaret's mug sat on the conference table where I'd placed it during my opening remarks, a tradition I'd started to remind everyone why we existed. I picked it up and walked to the kitchen to wash it, the same routine I'd followed for 8 months in my old kitchen, now continued in my new life. Outside, families were gathering for evening visiting hours. The night shift was arriving. The day shift was heading home to their own families. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, poured myself one last cup of coffee in Margaret's mug, and told her about my day, because some promises are too important to break, even when the person you made them to can't hold you accountable anymore. And sometimes the best way to honor the past is to build a future that multiplies love instead of dividing it. If you're watching this, remember, the quietest people often have the loudest impact. Don't assume someone struggles to find their capabilities. Never underestimate what love can accomplish when it's focused on serving others instead of protecting yourself. And most importantly, real family members support your decisions. They don't manipulate them. If someone in your life is coaching others on how to control you, that's not love. That's predation. What's your story of quiet strength? How are you turning your struggles into service? Let me know in the comments below. Because Margaret was right. Love multiplies when you share it.